It's the race of the future, the Miami Crypto something Grand Prix. Future racing, crypto. Basically, I've decided that I'm just gonna say what I call the race, because I don't like their names that much. So like, I'm just gonna name the race my own thing, and that's what we'll do for the Open from now on. So
I'll refer to it's the Crypto.com Miami Grand Prix, and this is the post race recap,
right,
on the F1 side.
I'll call it Race of the Future Crypto Miami Grand Prix.
Yeah.
All
yeah.
right.
So this is the post Miami race here on the F1 side pod. I'm Cody.
I'm Noah.
And I'm Paul.
And interesting race. There were some lulls, but it really picked up pretty well. The winner of the first ever Miami Grand Prix. Bring up the anthem. There we go. Max Verstappen.
Partridge in a pear tree.
Yeah. That sounded great. I bet everybody
that
loved
was
our
bad.
singing. Leclerc P2, Sainz P3 to finish out the podium, and then Perez and Russell knocking out the top five. Paul, your prediction, you had Verstappen and Leclerc 1 and 2. I had Russell P5 is all I got correct this week, and Noah got jack shit.
Yeah, I got big old goose egg on this one.
I think you had all the people. Just not.
I had them in there. I had the
places.
Right ingredients.
Yeah.
I just didn't, the cake didn't come out right.
Yeah.
But I had all the ingredients in there.
But Max Verstappen, I mean, he started P3.
Mm-hmm.
He took over, I think, lap 9, and essentially held it the rest of the time.
Yeah.
He was under attack there at the end after the safety car.
As it should be.
And I think all around just really good race from him. I mean, real tight at the end there after that safety car.
Yeah, it was the last 10 laps were a little clinchy.
Yeah, he's a dang good driver, you know.
Yeah.
Well, I thought they were pretty clinchy, but if I were to think back on the race and stuff, I seem to remember somebody, and I don't want to name names around here, but I remember Paul specifically walking around being like, meh, whenever they were within about half a second of each other.
I wasn't saying it like man, this is boring. You were saying he's going to catch him. I was like, I don't think so. That's the type of.
Well, you just outed yourself because I didn't name names.
Except for when you said Paul.
Yeah, you said Paul.
Yeah,
It's a joke.
But yeah, I mean, I think the interesting thing is these Ferrari, like last year, there were differences between the Red Bull and the Mercedes. Some tracks were better for one than the other. There seems to be a huge difference in just the pros and cons of the Ferrari and the Red Bull.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Ferrari's corner better, the Red Bulls have the better straight line speed, but it's just nuts.
There was it was Verstappen had 27 laps on those hards, and Leclerc only had 16.
No. He's 2 laps behind him.
No, actually, Leclerc pitted first.
Didn't they finish?
I thought I saw him those last.
Mm-mm. No, Leclerc pitted 2 laps before Verstappen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he had. I think at one point I saw it was 27 and 25.
I must have just saw it. Never mind.
I think maybe you looked at signs.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Because that's what
they were pretty close to each other.
Okay.
As far as pits went, I mean, it came down to honestly, it came down to Sainz fighting off Perez after that safety car, because Perez, he lost power a little bit through the race, which has been kind of Red Bull's issue all year, and unless they fix something soon, will continue to be that way. And then, but Sainz had lost a little bit of power, but had medium tires on instead of the hards, which could be, could have been the difference. But he fought him off. I mean, it came down to a lockup during a pass that went poorly.
Right.
But I think, all in all, real tight there. And speaking of that safety car, Lando Norris took a carousel in Miami.
Yeah.
That was nuts.
Yeah, he dinged it up real good. They bumped and it ruined it. Because, Verstappen had a really dominant race there. The last little bit was very interesting after the safety car where, Lando and Gasly bumped. And so obviously that just basically reset the race. But, I still thought even afterward, he had to basically start all over fighting off Leclerc and still,
he did it.
Even with just a little bit of race left, kind of came out
there
pretty dominated.
for a little bit, but
yeah,
it only took a couple laps for him to get out of that DRS zone.
Yeah. Well, and who benefited the most from that was George Russell, who I think had a hell of a race, honestly, today.
Was it Mr. Saturday?
Yeah. He stayed on. See, he qualified P12 and finished P5.
Yeah.
And I mean, he stayed on the hards, literally said at one point, let's see if there's a safety car and hope we can pit under a safety car. Mm-hmm. Because, when you pit under a safety car, everybody's going slower. So you essentially get, it goes from being like a negative 20 seconds to your time to being negative 12 seconds.
Just talking about George Russell and with Mercedes in general, Mercedes this year, George Russell, Lewis Hamilton.
You mean Mercedes number one driver?
Right. Mercedes number one driver. But, Mercedes with George Russell and Lewis Hamilton, it's kind of been interesting to see it, just from a viewer perspective, it just looks like George Russell's kind of taken over that team. He's completely on the front step every race with and Hamilton seems to be just, even just listening to him on the radio and stuff, George Russell seems to be way more kind of just
positive.
I don't know, positive and in command of what he's doing and
calm.
Yeah. And in the race, at one point, there was a pit strategy, have
him come in for softs.
Yeah. Basically, whether Hamilton should come in for softs and, Hamilton just don't leave it up to me. Just tell me what to do. And then comes back.
And then, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, so he ends up not pitting later in the race. I guess he feels that didn't work out for him, obviously, because he finishes, after Russell, but he kind of blames their pit strategy. But then you got, on the other hand, George Russell, who kind of went against, what they were saying with the pits, thinking we should just stay out and see if there's a safety car.
But then, it
works out.
Yeah, and then Hamilton, seemed to blame the team for the bad strategy. It's
exactly,
you told them to make the strategy, and now you're, complaining that their strategy was bad.
Yeah. And maybe it would have turned out the same either way, honestly.
Yeah, it could have.
Right.
But it's just the fact that he's not berating them, but he's just passing the blame.
Yeah, it seems like Russell's just kind of
making excuses.
To me, it seems like he's taking ownership of that position and is I mean, he puts a lot. I feel like he's putting a lot into it, and he's gotten lucky a lot, but he's also been really good for them a lot. Yeah. I really like watching him this year.
Which I will say, to be fair to Hamilton, which we don't do super often,
I don't want to be.
Is what was it, Sochi last year, when that rain started to come down and Lando Norris unfortunately spun out in that race as well, but differently. Lando Norris led the whole race, and then it started to rain in the last 10 laps, and he stayed out on the hards.
Who?
Lando Norris.
Okay.
Stayed out on the hards.
And it looked like
ended
he
up
was
getting
gonna
too wet.
Yep.
And he spun out and ended up finishing P7. Hamilton, on the other hand, they brought him in before the rain really started to come down.
Right.
He put on wets or intermediates. He went on to win the race after Norris spun out, and he gave the credit to his strategy.
Yeah.
So, it's a
was
thing
a
where you
whole
gotta
year ago.
Yeah.
He's changed since then.
Yeah, Russia has changed since then.
Yeah.
But so to be fair, he does at least give the credit to them when they choose correctly.
Well, last year he did.
But he hasn't had much to really give him credit for yet this year.
All in all, though, just based on just what his Lewis Hamilton's prior performance this season, he actually really just looking at it face value had a good race for him.
The only issue is the expectations. If he didn't have such sky high expectations for Mercedes and him, he'd be it's a pretty decent year.
But if from their perspective, I would say it probably seems pretty positive for him. But I don't know what they want, but I don't know if they want to be in the position where they've got Lewis Hamilton right behind George Russell. That seems really I
Unless
don't know.
it's 1-2.
Yeah, it's. I think it's definitely not going to make a good team atmosphere.
Well, and it I mean, honestly, it fully depends on Hamilton, how he handles it.
yeah,
Because if you've got, I think the way most teams do it is early on, it's very even strategies and race by race until it starts coming to who's been doing better. And then you start going, okay, we're going to give them the better strategy. They've got more points. They're the closest to winning the Drivers' Championship. You know,
Right.
and, you know, honestly, if neither of them are in reach, which is potentially going to be the case, they may just keep it pretty even and go race by race. Who's where, what strategy we're going to give them.
I think you know, especially just with Hamilton, like he's obviously they all are competitive, but Lewis Hamilton is super competitive, and I think him being right behind George Russell, like in the lineup, is I think they're gonna feel like they're basically racing themselves and stuff a lot, like where I think maybe they went in thinking Russell was going to be obvious, like behind Lewis Hamilton, but it's not working out that way. I'm thinking that it might get a little tense on the track for them if they're right there with each other trying to figure out who's the number one driver, which right now
But that was a rare thing for Hamilton to out-qualify Russell.
Yeah, this year a little bit, yeah.
So
yeah, but speaking of similarly,
well, just 1 second. Let me to make my point a little.
Sorry,
more,
before
like,
I do my transition.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
I think to give my point a little more clarity. Back like historically, it was just easier for I think Mercedes to it's Hamilton Bottas always.
Yeah,
and
Hamilton's been number one.
Their situation with their drivers was a lot simpler.
Speaking of Hamilton, Bottas out-qualified Hamilton, and I thought that was pretty splendid.
Yeah, unfortunately finished behind him because of something that happened late in the race. But
yeah, there was a small incident with Bottas, but honestly, like
he just went wide.
He's performed super great,
Killer.
like super well this season, and I think he had a killer race. I think honestly, he's
better. He's better being at Alpha.
Yeah, and I think he's stronger than
Well, I think like being second to Hamilton, like he had been, was like really getting to him towards the end of the last season.
Yeah,
like he was still doing his part as a teammate, but you could just tell it was just like getting him down.
Yeah, well, and like I think kind of what you were saying is Hamilton's been number one for so long that like you kind of wonder how he's taking it, losing so often to his teammate in the direct comparison of having the same cars.
And it just like the drama of like having your racers right next to each other on the track, I think sometimes for like decision making for the team can get a little hairy, especially with Mercedes. I think historically you'd seen like situations where they had a lot of like kind of infighting on the track between Bottas and Hamilton that they might now if Russell and Hamilton start performing kind of comparably, that they might get a little dramatic here. So I would wager that if they keep performing like they are, that there's going to be a bit of drama between them for the next like few races.
Well, and it'd be similar probably to when Verstappen first came up to Red Bull with Ricardo.
Yeah.
And there was that or was it was Azerbaijan, wasn't it?
Was it?
Where Ricardo crashed into Verstappen.
It was Azerbaijan.
I think they were, I don't know if they were 1-2, but they were up in the top 5.
But they were.
I think.
Oh yeah, I think they were.
And Ricardo just crashed into the back of Verstappen, and it was just they were kind of sour the whole time they were there.
Yeah.
And so if you're a Mercedes or Mercedes fan, you really hope that's not going to happen to them, but it could. I mean, when you've got the guy who's been kind of established number one for a while, and then the hot kid comes up and starts beating him.
You think Max is hot too?
Well, that's not what I meant.
No, or Russell's hot.
Personally,
another thought I had about like Valtteri Bottas with Alfa Romeo. At the start of the season, I think Kevin Magnussen's like early race, like P5 qualifying with Haas was such a big story because of like Haas's like past performance that it kind of drew a lot of attention, just that he'd done that, and it's drawn I don't know about everybody, but it's drawn a lot of my attention to like watch Haas, and especially with how they started out the season like super strong. They've kind of settled back down like in the lower ranks, hopefully just in battling for points is where I'd like to see them. But anyway, I think to me, I'm starting to feel like that was distracting from what I think the kind of real story for me is this, that Alfa Romeo has been like, and specifically Valtteri Bottas has been very like standout good this
Been
season.
more
for
consistent.
As a team,
more consistent
I
as
was
a
not
team.
expecting them to be where they're at right now.
We both,
Yeah.
I think,
So I
predicted
think-
them to be
I think-
last place.
I think as much as
No,
I
that
thought,
was Aston.
I think as much as I thought
Mine
that
was
Haas
Alpha.
Oh,
was like kind of a Cinderella story at the beginning of this season, I'm kind of thinking that the real kind of like underdog cool story
Is
about this
Bottas.
season is Bottas
Yeah,
with Alfa
I'd
Romeo
agree
and
with
Alfa
that.
Romeo as a team.
Well, who hasn't been the Cinderella story this year? Is
McLaren.
Nicholas Latifi.
Oh,
Yeah,
Latifi. Oh, I wouldn't have thought. I wouldn't even. Are they still racing over there at Williams?
Yeah, because Albon has been regularly out qualifying, out racing.
well, because
Latifi.
Albon's a good driver.
Yeah,
Like,
and so there's been stories, there's been rumors, whatever you will, that Latifi could get replaced mid-season. And now this doesn't happen a lot. It happened when,
but what's going to happen with
Albon-
our blue turtle shell guy?
yeah, no, we're gonna have to make different jokes.
Dang.
But it happened a couple years ago when
create
Gasly
new
was with
jokes.
Red Bull.
Yeah, who's going to get the mid-race restart going without Latifi there?
right.
Gasly was with Red Bull. Albon was actually with, was it AlphaTauri at the time or was it Toro Rosso? Whatever.
It was
the
Toro
Red Bull
Rosso.
Junior team at the time.
Yeah.
And they swapped mid-season. But this one,
No,
Albon and Gasly.
or was it Alpha? Yeah.
Yeah. And so
Toro
this one
Rosso.
would be, the rumor is that they may reach out to Alpine and Williams gets Oscar Piastri to race for the second half of the season. And kick, I don't know, either
Kick
make
him out.
Latifi their reserve driver or
That would
just
be
straight
crazy.
kick him to the curb.
Kick him to the curb.
But that would be nuts. I mean, I haven't been following Formula One as long as you guys have. I wasn't super following it actually when the whole Gasly Albon thing. But I mean, that would either energize a team or be super disheartening for a team, I think, to have that happen.
I think mostly from a team perspective, Latifi, no, but like for Nicholas Latifi personally, no, but like for the team, I would think those kind of decisions and switch out, driver things would probably be more energizing than anything. Like just a chance to try to like change something about what's happening. Because like they haven't, they've. What did Albon finish in this? Alex Albon
today,
finish in this race?
Albon got
12?
another point.
Oh,
10th.
he got 10th.
He
Okay.
got 10th. So he's got
I
2
think-
points.
Yeah, I think Williams and he got their other point as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
one where he didn't pit until the
Latifi
last
definitely
race,
didn't.
the last
But
lap.
I think for them that's going to be super energizing because they're one of those teams that's just trying to get
A point.
a couple times, like as many times in a season as they can.
Yeah.
And I think that Alex Albon getting his 2 points in 6 races for them, I think that shows that their car is probably where they want it to be.
But I think the car is better than the past couple years have been for sure.
100%. But like, because they didn't get a point last year, did they?
No,
don't
they
think-
did. Russell got him
Oh,
some
yeah.
points and stuff.
You're
Latifi
right,
actually
you're right.
scored some
Year
points
before
last
though,
year.
I
You're
don't
right.
think they did.
But it was when like people, it was the similar situation that we've talked about in previous episodes, where it was like so much of the field crashed out that they could finish in the top.
Right.
It was
But
how they got a lot of their points.
I would say like in 6 races, they've got 2 points so far, from one of their drivers and not the other. And I think the other is really like lagging so much. And I think that they probably see, if I had to just, guess, I would say they probably see potential to kind of strike and get more points, but I think that, if they don't think he can get any, they're just going to like, I don't think it's strange to think they would just get him out of the car and just see if they can get someone in there that can get a point. Cause they got one driver that is performing, for their team
Good.
very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think the only potential issue would be with him being a pay driver, which
Mm-hmm.
is when essentially a driver has companies that he has ties with.
And that's Nicholas Latifi's the pay
Nicholas
driver.
Latifi is known as a pay driver, which
Mm-hmm.
usually it's a negative term because it means they're just in there because they have money. But it's a kind of a prove yourself and prove you're not a pay driver. But he's got companies that he is friendly with or whatever that will sponsor whatever car he's driving. And so the team essentially gets money because he's on the team. And so, they might lose that money, but also if you lose that money but get a better driver in who's scoring more points, you could essentially potentially get different sponsors to give you that same amount of money.
But after you burn that bridge, you better hope that driver you bring in does make the points.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, they may. I mean, who's the other driver they're bringing in? Is
Oscar Piastri. He won F4, F3, and F2 in subsequent years, and the last two drivers to do that were Charles Leclerc and George Russell.
See, I like the sound of that, and I would say that pay drivers. I think I don't know the numbers, but I think pay drivers are good for teams that are bringing home 0 points.
Yeah.
And I think that teams that the difference in getting 1, 2, 3, 4 points at the end of the season and stuff and 0 points is tens of millions of dollars easy. I would say that, basically their thoughts got to be if we're, getting consistent points or getting, enough points that it's well worth the risk to, try to get someone else in there who can get more. And it's probably worth more money to them is probably where they're at with it.
Yeah, I agree. One more thing before we head to the break, and this is something we've touched on, I think, maybe at the preseason episode when we were just figuring this whole thing out, which we still are, but is because this was in America this week, Mario Andretti was with them at practice 2 and talked about the potential of...
Who's Mario Andretti?
Mario Andretti, American driver, won... I don't know if did he ever win? I think he did. He won a driver's championship. At least one, I think.
In Formula One?
In Formula One. Multiple race winner.
I know that he's won some. I don't know about... Yeah, I don't know about his stats, but...
Yeah, but multiple race winner, Formula One driver, American... and owns Andretti Autosports, which I think sponsors like NASCAR, IndyCar, a bunch of different racing things. But they're looking to make a foray into F1. Last offseason, it was rumored they were potentially going to buy out controlling stake in Alfa Romeo and take over that team. But now it's been talked about of them joining as the 11th team, 22 drivers on the grid, and most likely they would bring with them the first American driver in, I don't know, a long time into F1. He was on during FP2 talking about that and basically said the only thing they're missing to join F1 is the approval by the other teams and by F1 itself. They've got a car, they've got they've got manufacturing facilities, they've got an engine supplier, they've got money, which is the big thing. So they're just waiting on F1 to say yes. And so I think that sounds awesome because I feel like there's not enough kind of driver churn in F1. You get people kind of like Latifi staying around probably a little longer than they should. And so I'm all for it. I think it sounds awesome. Have another American team, have more drivers in there. What do you guys think?
I say bring in 2 teams, have 24 drivers.
I say bring it on. Baby.
Fill up this thing.
Yeah, you saw those fans out there in
Miami
today.
A good idea.
Yeah.
What they need in F1 is more America.
Yeah, they need more America and they need more boats sitting on what looks like pools of Jello.
Yeah.
We're almost not even talking about that because it was so disappointing. It was so much worse than I could have ever imagined it would look. It was terrible.
It won me over.
So last thing before we run to the break, driver of the week.
Oh boy, oh beans! I've been worrying.
Man, it's a weird kind of week for driver of the week. I'll go first because I really don't know who else to really nominate for this. I'm nominating Verstappen. He took the race at 9. He really, except for pit times, held the lead the whole time. He fought off Leclerc at the end. I mean,
I think I'm going with Verstappen as well.
I'm going weekend warrior, Bottas.
Ooh, interesting.
And he did well today. I mean, up until he went wide and got past, but I mean, all weekend he's been solid. Freaking beat Hamilton.
Yeah, qualifying P5, the highest I think they said Alfa Romeo's ever qualified.
Yeah.
So I'll say this, to your credit, Paul. I thought that my driver of the day in the last 5 laps of the race, I think, or maybe a little earlier, my driver of the day was between Mick Schumacher and Valtteri Bottas. I thought both of the incidences involving those two at the end of the race,
Schumacher.
Yeah, both of their incidents at the end of the race knocked both of them off for me. I thought it was hands down Bottas if he finished like where he was at, but I thought, like there's something about like kind of slipping at the last 5 laps
kind
that
of
just
succumbing to the
it.
pressure.
Well, I don't know what it was necessarily, but I would say that there's something about like, slipping right at the end, like choking a little bit.
Not finishing strong.
Yeah, that just kind of like killed it for me a little bit. Like, so that's what took it away from me. Schumacher,
That doesn't bother me.
So bummed about Schumacher. Like, he finished the race and everything. Couldn't give it to him either. But I thought that, like,
okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was just saying, I thought him outperforming his teammate. I thought him finishing it, 9th was going to be like, a super strong performance for him, and something that I think like he needed to kind of show, that he was, just as strong, worth keeping and just as strong a driver. And then it just didn't work out for me.
Yeah. I think that's a little unfair to just like saying that the last of the race, like that cancels him out for your driver of the day when he was strong all day and all weekend. That's why I'm thinking, like, I like the weekend warrior
kind of
aspect instead of doing like a driver of the day. And even with driver of the day, it's like, I mean, they were strong drivers all day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can't like take that away from him just because of one little misstep the last 10 laps.
Why? I can do.
Well, here's the thing.
I have the power.
Well, that's but I'm just saying, I'm just saying, I don't think it's fair.
Here's the thing. I'll say
you can think it's fair.
Be devil's advocate.
Abdicate.
Whatever. Abdicate.
Abacus.
So Verstappen really kind of did what Bottas did today during qualifying, where he was on the last lap trying to get pole position and just went too wide at a corner and essentially had to just stop and didn't get pole because of that. Started P3. But I think the race matters a little bit more than qualifying in that case. I mean, Valtteri Bottas did have a really good weekend. And unfortunately, he finished 7 instead of 5, where he potentially could have, if not for that slip up.
Yeah.
Something about too, where he would have finished ahead of his old teammate Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah.
Potentially both of his teammates.
Potentially ahead of Lewis Hamilton and his own position, where George Russell is now in this race.
It would have been cool to see. That would have been real cool.
Yeah. And I think to me, like, you're right. It's a little, and we need to wrap up here, but it's a little unfair maybe to take that away from him just because he slipped up at the end. But they count the race that way. If you slip up at the end of the race,
Yeah, but this isn't about a race though. It's about the driver's performance throughout the day.
I'm sticking with Verstappen.
I'm gonna stick. Well, can we swing Paul, or are we gonna have to swing with Paul?
I think you're gonna have to swing with me. I would. Max did what Max does.
Yeah.
He wins when his car finishes. Like that's what Max does.
Are we gonna have to swing with Paul?
I don't think he's changing. So
I'm not changing.
We're stuck over on this branch. Let's start getting some momentum and swinging over with him. I don't hate the Bottas pick.
Yeah.
So Valtteri Bottas, instead of driver of the day, Valtteri Bottas, weekend warrior for the Miami Grand Prix.
See, and that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, do we do a weekend warrior thing? Because they already do a driver of the day on the show.
We can switch it up.
Maybe we should try like driver of the weekend.
Tweet at us. If we get a single tweet, we'll change it.
A single person tweets at us, whatever you ask for, you're getting it.
At F1 side dash pod.
Yeah, whatever you
Twitter.
tweet and ask us, you're getting it.
I mean, I'm just gonna go ask Dan and Jeremy what they think we should do.
The two, you have like
the two regular listeners.
I've got an in with two of our listeners. I'm for sure listening, and I've got an in with them. So you can you can do like a lot of market research, like right at work.
Right. Oh yeah. I got a lot of.
All right.
A lot of.
Let's skip on out of here.
Let's go on to the ad break. We'll be back. Time to make biscuits.
I got us a lead.
Okay.
Mix
an
the
interesting
gravy.
one. Yeah. I got us a lead, and it's listener Paul. Paul, the one that's right here sitting with us.
Oh, hi, Paul.
I've never listened to this show.
Right. Well, anyway, I've got a lead on. Well, no, hold on now. You're here right now. You're listening to me and Cody. So
right.
My thought is that since you just had a birthday, that you would be our super targeted ad this week. So me and Cody are going to sell you something that we think that you would want for maybe for his birthday, like a late birthday present, maybe just like something an old man who's getting older every year would want.
The hurricane.
A hurricane.
The hurricane.
What the hell did you just say?
Yeah,
did you guys not watch?
I don't want that.
Did you guys not watch Game Show Network a lot as a kid? Because I did. It's a cane where the bottom of it pivots so that it's not like a single bottom, so that you can really not fall down
get
as
some
much.
torque and get some torque off those liftoffs with your cane.
Yeah.
I actually like I've turned around on it now.
But I can walk fine.
Well,
Yeah,
not
for now.
forever. You need to at least get like used to the idea that you're not going to be like pitter pattern around your villa for the rest of your life. Eventually, you're going to slow down.
I hope I have.
I've accepted that Paul is going to get slower as he gets older. I don't know if he has.
I'm not giving up.
Okay, well, maybe something else, like maybe something to help with like.
Well, for now, the hurricane can be self-defense, but
Yeah.
later it's when you need it to walk.
Okay, so maybe like what we're doing. Okay, so
You
we're
buy
gonna-
it now for when you need it in the future.
That's what I'm saying, but he doesn't seem open to the idea. So what I'm saying, what I'm going to kind of pivot to is obviously we're going to buy him the hurricane and we're just going to put it next to the door and
Yeah,
he'll
he'll need
He
When
should be
needs it,
getting
he'll
mad
grab
that
it.
I'm being ungracious for this great gift you're trying to
Exactly.
get me.
Yeah.
But listen, we put
a grumpy old man about it.
yeah, we buy him the hurricane. We'll put it next to the door. When he needs it, he'll grab it.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to do. But my idea now, he's still physically younger-ish.
Ripped.
Yeah, he's still
something.
physically ripped and youngish.
Yeah.
So, but he does have like the old man brain. So maybe what we get him is
that's true.
plant stuff to plant things
Gardening.
in like a garden.
I love gardening.
Maybe we just get him some flats. Are we advertising flats of flowers?
Oh, I was like
Or
flats.
something, or vegetables?
I was like, does he usually garden in heels?
That's what I was thinking.
No, I meant flats of like plants. I'm sorry, it's a plant guy
Sorry, I'm
term.
not a gardener. I don't know.
He would get it though
He
because
would
he's
get
a
it.
plant guy. So
Yeah,
he
yeah,
hears flats and he thinks, oh, flats of plants, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Nope, I thought
Heels.
heels.
Yeah.
Well, all right, fine. We're getting him heels.
We're getting him flats for gardening, so that
Okay.
he can garden without having to wear his heels.
New gardening shoes.
Yeah.
Because that's what I hate the most is when the back of the heel, like it stabs into the ground.
Stabs into the ground,
It makes it hard to walk, and I feel like I'm gonna break an ankle. But it's really good for aerating the yard while I'm out there.
Okay, here we
walking
go.
around.
Maybe
It's those
one and
shoes.
one.
It's
Right.
those shoes that have spike, like not cleats, but they have spikes
I know what you're talking
specifically
about.
for aerating your garden.
Yep.
When you
That would
work.
be a great gift.
Yeah. Okay. So here we go.
Okay.
Here's the ad. Do you garden in heels? Isn't it such a drag when your heel sinks into the mud? Well, check out these shoes.
Wow.
They let you aerate your garden while you don't have to wear heels and fall over in that pesky mud.
I'm aerating like never before. There's so much oxygen in the dirt here now. My plants, they're growing before my eyes.
If you want your plants to grow, get these shoes that don't have a name.
My wife came back.
There you go. Get these shoes. Okay, so now if you make those shoes, if those are an actual product and we didn't just make it up,
I'm pretty
then
sure that I've
contact
seen
us and
them
we'll
before.
advertise. If they're not, TM.
And I'm
We own that.
gonna say that we did pretty successful ad break because we're just gonna buy him this stuff because it's his birthday. He's a birthday boy.
Yeah, so it's gonna get bought.
You still feel strong? How do you feel?
Like an ox, baby.
All right, let's
Okay.
get out of here. Let's get back to the B. Let's get to the B segment.
All right, so 2 weeks from now, next race, another 2-week gap of my life gone, is Barcelona. We're going to be in Spain.
Aren't you going to Disney next week?
I am going to Disney next week.
I don't think that's too a week of your life.
No, it's going to be
wasted.
actually pretty sick.
It's gonna be hell
Yeah.
waiting for
Waiting for this race.
in the
Gotta
Magic
go to
Kingdom.
freaking
Yeah.
Disney.
So they're going to Spain where they do preseason testing, or half of it. It's got 2 DRS zones. It's got 16 corners, and the lap record is set by Max Verstappen going averaging 133 miles an hour.
It's pretty fast, Max.
It's pretty fast. A minute and 18 seconds. So it's a shorter track. They'll do 66 laps. So shorter track, more laps.
Mm-hmm.
I'm never not excited for a race, but I'm pretty excited for this race because everybody's super familiar with it. Like, they literally did testing there for 3 days, running like a billion laps while they're testing out these cars. And so it's going to be a lot of people who know what they're doing. They know what this track has to offer. They know the ins and outs and all of it. It's the opposite of Miami this week.
I think this is going to be a really good race. I think this is a race people can get excited about. I think with Miami, you don't know what's coming because it's never been raced before. There's some,
and there's fake yachts and
right. Yeah. And there's some races definitely aren't, as exciting as others, but I think this is a good race coming up.
Oh yeah.
And I think
nothing can be as boring as that Miami race.
Yeah, I think though that Red Bull's going to kind of maintain their dominance for
Except
now.
for the last 10 laps.
But I think that I think Verstappen's going to maintain his dominance.
I think he's not dominating.
Well, he did. He is
until the safety car.
He is in certain races, and he was.
I know, but he's still like 30 points. Well, now he's still almost 30 points.
I think he's 19
streak
is what I mean to say.
He's 19 points behind Leclerc right now.
Yeah, and I would say, I guess what I mean is his dominant streak. See, he's actually won more races, though. Is that right? I think that
now he has. He's won every race that his car actually let him finish the race.
Right.
Oh, is that a sneak peek at stat of the week?
Oh, don't tell him that.
Forget you heard that. Forget you heard that.
Yeah.
So, Lewis Hamilton's won the last 4 years. I don't see that happening again this year.
Yeah.
But
he had a strong race, but no.
What do we think will happen? We're going to race predictions. Who's willing to go first?
I'll go first.
Noah's going first.
I actually feel pretty confident about my picks.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I think it is going to be Verstappen. And I think just much like I think Verstappen, Leclerc, Perez, Sainz, Bottas. I'm going to say Bottas. All right. What do you think, Paul?
Interesting.
All right. Now, I think there might be a slight echo in the room.
Oh, uh-oh.
Oh, I think it's coming back around now.
Uh-oh, here comes the sound. I see it coming straight at me.
Verstappen, Leclerc, Perez, Sainz. Oh, I lost the echo, though. I guess that last driver didn't make it, so I'm going to have to pick a fifth driver. I'm going Russell.
Okay.
Interesting.
Okay.
I'm going to... Man, I just don't like matching. I don't like us all matching, because then there's no winners or losers. So I'm going to go...
Well, so far, we're not matching.
Right. Well, but 3 out of 4.
Ain't bad.
Yeah, that's where I knew that was coming. I'm going to stick Verstappen, Leclerc. I'm going to go Sainz, Perez. So switch those two around. I mean, hey, listen, there's not a lot. There's two teams obviously at the top now.
Finish your thing, but there's something to be said.
I know.
And Russell's finished in the top 5. Every time, I got to go with Russell at 5 until he stops doing it.
I would say,
yeah, baby.
I would say the thing to take away from this, because those are kind of like super boring predictions, except mine, which is actually a little spicy and good and awesome.
Yeah, sure.
I actually thought about Bottas for sure.
Yeah.
But
he's getting into the conversation.
I also want to win.
Right.
Yeah.
I think, though, the thing to be said about it is that I think that two teams are strongly dominating the first 4 positions.
Yeah, it's just
Formula
what order.
1 right now.
Well, and it's not even what order. It's honestly it's which one will get off better usually.
Ew,
gross.
Yeah, gross. Sorry, I should have said that. It's which one has the advantage or whatever. Verstappen and Leclerc, and then how do the number 2 drivers finish? Sainz and Perez back and forth.
Because they do completely different setups like each race, and it's interesting to see like kind of the difference that can come out of them and stuff. But I think that Red Bull's kind of on the front step a little bit with like strategies and stuff right now with Verstappen especially. So
Yeah.
I think you're just gonna see just a little bit of a continuation of what.
Yeah, I mean, really, the big pick is who you're picking for fifth.
Yeah.
Is kind of what it feels
essentially.
like.
Yeah,
Well,
who's gonna get there?
I think that you won't see. I don't know if you'll see anything too terribly exciting in the first 5 positions of this race. But who is your all's dark horse driver?
Wait, did you
Let's
say
hear it.
dark horse driver?
Uh-oh, here he comes.
Dark horse driver.
Oh, it's chills every time.
Man, I was thinking about
Paul should have to go first because we both went first. Sorry, didn't we?
Well,
okay, yeah. Paul,
you know
go
what?
first.
I don't have one this week for this track.
So your dark horse driver is
Everything's gonna happen exactly as expected.
a void. It's just like blackness of
Yeah.
like nothing.
Also, I feel like we need to keep up with our dark horse drivers and talk about them more because I feel like half the time we say it and then I forgot.
Yeah,
who
there's
mine,
no
I think mine was
follow-up.
Alonso. And
yeah, that's
I
a
can't
good
even
point.
remember.
That's a
He
good
did
point. We
okay.
haven't really, we never really check in with those riders.
We never really judge ourselves.
Those dark horse drivers. They ride into town, and then we
And
just
they-
kind of like sup, and they
we never talk
come
about it.
back
And I
up
think
again.
our record is really bad on.
I
how the-
100% think that this segment, if you look back on it too hard, is probably a big stinker, but I like
probably
it.
terrible.
So let's just, maybe we should do it as we're doing it right now and not think about it afterward.
Yeah,
And
all right.
someone could tweet at us and tell us how terrible we are
Yeah,
if they
Pick-
want. But otherwise, I can think, I think what I said was smart.
that's probably pretty good. So I'll go. Oh no, sorry, Paul.
It's
you
stinky
Paul
that
didn't
you
have
said nobody, and I think that stinks.
Paul, you can
Okay,
think
well,
about it.
if we're gonna do this off the noggin, I'm gonna say dark horse driver for next week is going to be
Nice.
Schumacher.
I'm going to go second because I have something to say.
Okay, go ahead.
And the thing I have to say is, you stinky bastard. Like, because
Well, I haven't showered today.
I did write down Mick Schumacher because I was thinking about this during the race, and then you just dome pieced Mick
Hey,
Schumacher
that's what you
with
get.
Haas.
That's what you get when you make me go first, baby.
And so I should have gone first because then you
Yeah.
look like a
Stupid.
stupid boy.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be different then.
Okay.
Well, I would have just chosen.
Well, Mick Schumacher, I think, though, just to say, I think, Mick Schumacher had a really good race, and maybe this one for me was just more that I'd like to see him have another really strong race, and maybe he will, and that's why I would pick him as my dark horse driver.
So, my dark horse driver is somebody who we saw really show off on this track during testing to the point where we thought they were going to be just kicking ass and taking names all season long.
Who was that?
Lando Norris.
You're right.
McLaren looked
That's pretty
super
good.
good at Barcelona testing, and they
I
kept
like
saying,
that.
like, hey guys, don't get crazy. The car's not as good as it seems right now.
Maybe I should just
But,
copy Cody now instead of copying
well, but I've already
you.
said it, though.
Fine. I don't
You know
want
what?
you
Hey,
over here.
Paul, you know what you could do? Paul, you know what you could do? We could call Daniel Ricciardo and see what he has to say about it if
know-
we can get him on the phone.
Hold on.
But
Actually, let me see if I can dial him up. We'll see if he answers.
You don't even have his number. He's
I
my
just typed it
friend.
in.
He's my
I
friend.
stole it off your phone. Deep, 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 deep.
is he going to answer? If it rings 3 times, he's not going to answer.
Hold on. Just give him a second.
I know Daniel Ricciardo. He doesn't answer.
You've reached the voicemail box of Daniel
Oh,
Ricciardo.
shit.
Let's
leave
leave him
a
a voicemail.
leave a message after the beep. Beep.
Hey, buddy, just checking in with you to see if you'd come on our podcast again. It was super fun the last time you were here, and you definitely sounded like it was really actually you that was
Yeah,
here.
you said really defamatory things about Carlos Sainz, but maybe you won't do that next time.
Yeah, but if you do come back and stuff, that'd be super cool, and we'll see you then and stuff. And bye, see you, bye.
Beep. Mailbox full.
Oh,
Shit.
shoot.
Damn it.
Your beans.
Well, I
Anyways.
guess you can't leave him any more voicemails.
All right. Well, so Dark Horse Driver is 2 Schumachers, 1 Norris. And then the stat of the week, we kind of already said it. We let it slip. Every time. I like numbers. Stat of the week. There we go. Every time Max Verstappen has finished a race this season, it has been in first place.
If his car lets him finish a
gonna
race,
win.
he's gonna win the race.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how he do.
Man. And so, really, until he proves differently, we're probably going to.
I mean, it's not
finish
mathy,
up on
but
that.
it's a statty.
All right. Well, we're going to get this thing out of here. You can follow us on social media, on Twitter, at F1side-pod. Leave us reviews, Google, all that other stuff. And next episode,
Gonna be an in-between week. Monday, May 15th. Gonna be like just in between now and the Barcelona race.
Yeah.
Worst week of our lives.
Worst week of our lives, especially for Cody. He's gonna be in Disney.
He's going to be in Disney.
All right. Follow us there. Leave us reviews. All that stuff. We'll see you guys next week. I've been Cody.
I don't know.
And I'm Paul.
See you guys later.